today that because President Trump eked out a narrow win, he should have the right to do whatever he wants with no checks on his power. And I find this deeply disturbing. As a former civics teacher, it feels like we failed somewhere along the way. I don't know if you saw this. There's a Rolling Stone article the other day talking with people in the Trump administration, talking to aides about what they're doing right now to weather this. They're stockpiling toilet paper. They're stockpiling their own materials. They know what's coming, but they want the rest of people, the rest of Americans, to be okay while they are stockpiling supplies. So the economy is rigged for regular people. The American people know it. I wish that my Republican colleagues would stop acting like Americans are stupid and they don't see what's going on. This is not working for them.
Trump is finding out what every modern president already knew. You cannot detain and deport your way to a better immigration system. Real reform takes time. It takes planning. It takes, shockingly, working with Congress. And what's happening right now is messy, it's unlawful, it is, quite frankly, an authoritarian exercise. It's about generating fear.
This week we learned that 75% of the men on that plane to El Salvador, the men that President Trump claimed were the worst of the worst, were in fact not hardened criminals. Are we surprised that it was another example of optics over evidence? 75% of these men, no criminal charges in the United States. One of these men, 31-year-old Andre Hernandez Ramirez, who was snatched off the streets, put on a plane to El Salvador to rot in prison. Andre is not a gang member. He's not a terrorist. He's no threat to anyone. He is a son, a brother, a makeup artist, a hairdresser. He is a man who fled his home country to come to the United States because he feared for his life because he's gay. We are being lied to. These kinds of cruel tactics are not necessary to keep us safe. This is about taking away due process, intimidating us into silence and submission. If this administration will do this to Andre, they will do it to anyone. We are all at risk. Protect due process. Mr. Speaker, this is a cruel bill. Thousands of Americans will die because of it. Rural hospitals will close, millions will lose their health care, and kids will go hungry. Americans will be poorer. They will be sicker because of my Republican colleagues, because they are falling in line instead of standing up for their people back home. This bill shows us their priorities, and it's not you. They are taking away your health care to give more money to the very wealthy. This bill is for billionaires, not for you. I yield back.
Gentlelady's time's expired. Members are reminded to address their remarks to the chair.
So we're 100 days, a little over 100 days into this presidency, and you got what you wanted, folks on the other side of the aisle. You wanted complete control of the government. You got the House, you got the Senate, you got the White House. So whatever is happening right now is at your feet. And so what is the fiscal state of the nation right now? It's not great. It's not great. American people know it. 37%, only 37% of Americans polled by Ipsos and Reuters last week have confidence in Trump's economic policy. 37%. That was supposed to be his strength. Okay? Trump's tariffs have taken a blowtorch to our bank accounts. We've got increased costs on raw materials. We've got decreased manufacturing. Consumers are preparing to spend more. And why are they preparing to spend more? Why are they preparing for shortages? Because Trump is literally telling them, prepare to spend more. Prepare for sacrifice. Prepare for empty shelves. The S&P 500, one measure of consumer confidence, has shed $6.5 trillion in market value since February because of Trump's self-inflicted wound, this asinine trade policy and trade war with some of our strongest trading partners. And when you look at what he's doing in terms of cutting programs that would actually help my small businesses. I'm looking at the manufacturing extension programs that would actually provide support to small manufacturers. They're being cut. The on-again, off-again tariff regime is rocking my small businesses. I encourage my colleagues to get out of your bubble and go and talk to your small businesses, because what they're saying is, we can't deal with this unpredictability. We can't deal with the fact that there is no steadiness, that we don't know where we're going to get our supplies. They can't plan. We talk a lot in here about businesses needing stability and the ability to plan. You can't plan when you don't know what's going to be happening with the tariffs. I was on the phone with the owner of a company the other day. She said, one day it's one thing, the next day it's another thing. I don't know how I'm going to source these materials. So you wanted full control, you've got full control, you own this. Trump told us that tariffs would be this beautiful golden age. We were going to have American jobs coming back. It was going to be a golden age for American labor. That's not happening right now. We actually could be doing things that would help American workers and helping our economy. And Mr. Linden, that's what I want to talk about today. What could we be doing right now?
That's a great question. It's exactly the right question. And I think it's notable that the president is asking everyday Americans to make sacrifices, prepare for shortages, pay more at the store, just make do with less. Notable that small businesses have to carry these burdens while at the same time pushing a budget that would give a tax break to the biggest corporations in America and the most wealthy people in America. It's notable who he is asking to sacrifice.
That's right.
You got to tighten your belts, everyday Americans, but not wealthy people, not corporations. They get more. And that is the opposite of what we should be doing. Growth and prosperity come from everyday Americans going about their lives, creating jobs, being customers, being productive members of society. And they need basic things like healthcare and food and housing, and they need support for small businesses and manufacturing directly, and not through a hope that the tax cuts for a giant multinational corporation will eventually trickle down to them. And so we are doing the opposite. We are asking, right now we are asking everyday Americans who are struggling, who are saying very clearly we need help, we want lower costs, we're asking them, you should pay more so that rich people and corporations can pay less. That is literally the budget plan that is before Congress right now.
House Republicans have spent the last 3 months insisting that they are the party of working people, that they care about the struggles of working people. And now they have control of the House, they have control of the Senate, they have control of the White House, and they actually could be doing something about it. And yet, instead of passing legislation to make life easier and more affordable, they are doing the opposite. This bill is a betrayal of working people. It's a betrayal of the middle class. So let's start with the overall plan here. Republicans are proposing a massive cut to social services in this country, services that my constituents in Vermont rely on. I'm thinking about the nearly 164,000 Vermonters on Medicaid who are at risk of losing their health care. The Republican legislation means parents and grandparents who rely on Medicaid for long-term care and nursing homes for their family members. They're going to have that rug pulled out from under them. It means that rural hospitals, not just in Vermont, but in all of your rural districts, are going to close too. It's just a math problem. Medicaid goes away, rural hospitals close. The Republican majority and Donald Trump want to kick working families to the curb and give people who don't need another massive tax break another leg up. The wealthiest 1% in this country do not need more advantages. They have plenty. These cuts are a crystal clear indication of where your priorities lie. Now let's talk about what is on the agenda for this committee specifically. With this slice of the reconciliation plan, Judiciary Republicans will be doubling down on Trump's lawlessness and cruel immigration policies, fueling Trump's attacks on our independent judiciary and making it easier for big businesses to get away with price gouging and making it more expensive for regular people to survive.
Today, my Republican colleagues are voting for sky-high fees for folks who are just trying to comply with immigration laws. Does anyone really think that somebody who is fleeing to our country for relief as a refugee can afford hundreds or thousands of dollars to seek asylum or their day in court? It's nonsense, and you know it. And with these fees leveraged on those who can least afford it, Republicans are dedicating billions of dollars to hire and empower an immigration enforcement reign of terror. They want to greenlight more masked agents, more hooded people, more unmarked cars, yanking people off the streets, deporting them without any due process. This is America. This is what actually sets us apart from people in the rest of the world, is due process. You can laugh all you want, but if we don't stand up for due process, we are not the United States of America anymore. The bill in front of us will allow Republicans to further insulate this administration when it flagrantly violates the law and the Constitution, making it harder for courts to stop illegal actions. My Republican colleagues are once again using their position, instead of helping working people, they're using their position to attack judges, to attack the very foundations of what makes us Americans. And you're trying to shutter the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, making it harder for us to enforce our antitrust laws. Let's talk about fairness. Let's talk about competition. Let's talk about all my small businesses who just want a fair shot. Why would you go after the FTC and make it harder for small businesses to survive in this landscape? You all talk about competition. You all talk about a healthy process in this country, to have competition, to have a healthy economy, and then you go after the FTC. It doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't pass the straight face test. It's all more of the same in here. You are not looking out for working people. You are not standing up for small businesses. You're not standing up for rural America. You're not standing up for our rural hospitals. You're not standing up for the people who desperately need Medicaid in order to get basic health care. When I vote no on this Republican budget, I'm going to be thinking of all the working people in Vermont who sent me here to work on behalf of them, not big corporations, not authoritarians who are would-be dictators, to work on behalf of them. And I will be thinking of all of the immigrants, those who have become part of the fabric of Vermont's economy and our communities, who are heartlessly being attacked by my Republican colleagues today. I yield back. Presumably, we've all had some basic civics education, and I'm hearing a shocking misunderstanding of how the Constitution works. Professor Shaw, thanks so much for being here. Let's briefly reestablish the fundamentals here. We have 3 branches of government, correct?
Correct.
Executive, legislative, and judicial branch, correct?
Correct.
And under our constitutional order, the head of the executive branch, the president, generally must obey orders by judges, correct?
Absolutely.
And one of the ways Congress oversees judges and the president is through impeachment or removal from office for violating the law or other egregious behavior. Is that correct?
Treason, bribery, other high crimes and misdemeanors, correct.
Thank you. But Congress does not remove judges because of a disagreement with how they ruled. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And why is that?
Judicial independence requires the judges not be constantly afraid that they will be removed from office if they issue a decision that is unpopular or that is, opposed to the interests of the political powers or that runs against the political winds. Judicial independence requires judges to be confident and secure in their rulings and not fear the consequences of those rulings other than reversal on appeal. That's a consequence judges can and should fear, but that really is the primary consequence.
And as you've said, this has a chilling effect. This entire presidency so far is about having a chilling effect on the way that government works. The House must not take up impeachment resolutions based on anything but serious misconduct or illegal behavior. Yet Republicans, including people on this committee who claim to respect the Constitution, have introduced impeachment resolutions against judges because they don't like how judges did their job. They've introduced 7 impeachment resolutions so far. I'm sure there are more to come. Trump and Musk have publicly called for the impeachment of judges that they just don't like. Just by introducing these impeachment resolutions, my colleagues have attacked and weakened the independent judiciary. Does a weakened judiciary, Professor Shaw, endanger Americans' constitutional rights?
The courts are a key guarantor.
The gentlelady's time has expired, but I will give indulgence. You may answer.
I apologize. I didn't see. Sorry. I think that an independent judiciary has been and continues to be a key guarantor of all of our rights. And so anything that threatens judicial independence is a threat to all of us.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. And I will just say in closing, I taught my students for years the Constitution requires that we respect the rule of law and not the rule of one man. Thank you so much for being here.
You know, just this morning, President Trump said that Republicans aren't cutting anything meaningful in their budget. Wow. What a thing to say. What a shocking thing to say when these cuts will hurt so many Americans. I'm having a really hard time understanding how taking away health care from nearly 14 million Americans isn't meaningful. It's not meaningful that rural hospitals across Vermont and across this country are going to be at risk of closing. You know, just today I met with Vermonters from a little town called Coventry, and they're deeply concerned that they are going to lose access to labor and delivery health care at their local hospital. Republicans are so out of touch with the reality of American families right now, and it's shocking to call these cuts not meaningful when their bill will hurt working families. It takes away food and health care from millions and millions of people, their own voters, but yet they are not meaningful cuts. These cuts are certainly meaningful for all the kids and veterans who will go hungry because of this cruel and what I think very cynical bill. And why? Why are my Republican colleagues making the cuts? That's what we all want to know. To give the very wealthy another big tax cut and deliver tax breaks to billionaires and corporations. People who absolutely don't need any more assistance. So taking that money from people who desperately need help and giving away to the people who don't. People who are just struggling to get by are having precious resources taken away from them. And right now across this country, Americans are trying to figure out the math. Are they going to be able to afford groceries for their kids? They're trying to decide whether they can afford to go to the doctor. And while that's happening in real time, my colleagues are spending time demanding more work requirements for Medicaid recipients when we know that almost half of adults on Medicaid are already working. They act like they're not working. They're working. And 27% of those working age adults on Medicaid are disabled. They're doing the best they can here, folks. It couldn't be more obvious that they are just looking to remove more people from the Medicaid rolls in order to have more money to give tax breaks to billionaires and corporations. And it's sick. These are people, real people that we're talking about tonight, in every congressional district who cannot handle these cuts. It's as simple as that. And the reality is Americans can't pay for their rent right now. They can't pay for their groceries. They're too high. Prescription drug prices are too high. And costs for consumers and small businesses are just going to go up because of the asinine tariff regime that we've been dealt. And of course Americans feel like it's rigged against them, because it is. And that's why we have to be here fighting for them. That's why we have to be here raising the alarm about what is happening in this bill with Medicaid. What Americans want is fairness. What they need is fairness, and we owe them that. And they want and need affordable health care, and we owe them that. And they want and need a fair shot, a better life for their kids, and we owe them that. This bill that cuts Medicaid, it is a statement of values. It shows exactly what and who the Republicans are caring about. And it's not you and your family, and it's not me and mine. It's about propping up billionaires and kicking the rest of us in the teeth while they do it. And I ask you, What kind of leaders take away health care and food from working people so that the wealthy can get even more money? What kind of leaders? Not strong leaders, not leaders of conscience. It's shameful. I yield back.
On the morning of Thursday, April 24th, about 20 armed federal agents broke into a home occupied by a family of U.S. citizens in Oklahoma City who had just moved there 2 weeks prior from Maryland. ICE agents, mistaking the current occupants for the former, broke down the door, terrorized the family, and they repeatedly said, "We are citizens. You have the wrong people. We are citizens." It happened in the middle of the night. 3 children at gunpoint were forced outside to stand in the rain in their underwear while their mother pleaded with these agents to tell them what was going on. They ignored the pleas. They ripped apart the entire house. They seized cash, documents, electronics, their computers as evidence. When the family asked when they would get their stuff back, the agents responded, "Well, it could be days or it could be months." This was all a colossal mistake. The names on the warrant did not match the people who lived in the house. This is what we have created here. This is Trump's America. These were citizens who were treated like this. This is what we want you to open your eyes to. If it can happen, as we've said time and time again, if it can happen to folks with green cards, it can happen to citizens. And in Oklahoma City, we see a perfect example of that. This is what we're talking about. It's not other people. It's us. It's our neighbors. It's our friends. It's people who just moved from Maryland to Oklahoma for a better life and have their house destroyed. And they can't get answers. If we watch the rest of the news clip there, they're asking ICE, who's responsible for this? And then they're sending them to another agency, and they're sending them to another agency, and nobody is accountable for what happened to them. This is what my colleagues are trying to fund with this bill. Armed federal agents breaking into homes, even of U.S. citizens, traumatizing them, taking their possessions. This is Trump's America. That's why we continue to talk about due process. It's not some pie-in-the-sky idea. It's what literally holds our country together. Without due process, without the belief in the Constitution, we are not Americans. That's what gives us the ability to say we are an exceptional country in the world, that everyone who lives here gets due process. And we're going to keep saying this over and over and over again for everyone who lives here. What happened to that family, once again, of American citizens in Oklahoma City should scare the hell out of all of us. And we should not be using this committee to find more money to pump into ICE so that these things can happen. This family is all of us. That's what we're trying to say today. This family is all of us. And I can't believe that in our name, on our watch, this is happening to people who live in this country. Open your eyes. Wake the hell up. I yield back.
It's a terror campaign. And the Department of Homeland Security, as we've talked about today, is completely and totally out of control. ICE has become a paramilitary force, and our Republican colleagues just infused it with billions and billions of more dollars so they can continue their terror campaign. It operates completely lawlessly without any accountability, with masks, no ID, unmarked cars. You've all talked about it today. It's all deeply, deeply disturbing. And I want to focus on the aspect that others have touched on, the aspect of racial profiling. So if I could, Ms. Shabaya, is it legal for the police to use racial profiling in law enforcement?
It is not.
And what damage does it do when we racially profile?
I think it's hard to overstate because it does damage to the particular individual who is profiled. It also does damage to the community because people are terrorized and they think that if they look a certain way or are from a certain country or have an accent, that they are going to be targeted. And it also does damage to the enforcement authorities themselves because the people who are engaging in this behavior are losing a fundamental and critical aspect of human empathy and respect for others. And I think that we are really underestimating how damaging this is for all of us, like for everyone, for the perpetrators and for the people who are subjected to this behavior.
I am so glad that you mentioned that because that is something that I've been thinking about in earnest in the last few weeks. We are not just dehumanizing these immigrants, these migrants, these people seeking refuge here, these people who are seeking asylum. We, through this process that my Republican colleagues are enabling, we are dehumanizing the people who are perpetrating the violence on these people. They are losing their humanity. They are losing their compassion and empathy. And this is something that has happened the world over, right? This is not a surprise. This is what happens. People forget their own humanity, and that is to the detriment of all of us. I see that my time has expired. I cannot thank you enough for spending the time with us today. We're not letting this go. We're not letting it go. I yield back.
Thank you, Congresswoman Becca Balint. It is why we're here. We're not letting it go. Thank you.